I know it's showtime.
Yep. We got it.
Come on. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 91 of the Essential Wrestling Podcast.
Hey, John, you're on mute.
You're supposed to go away on his. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right. My name is John DeConti, sitting in for Karl, and we are powered, as always, by the Eastern Observer. Go to easternobserver.com, follow on Facebook. Thank you to all of those who are watching along and listening on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our newest platform, Audacity. With us today is the Iron Man Wrestling Podcast, John Smith. How are you today, sir?
I can't believe you had the audacity to get that name wrong. It's actually Odyssey.
Are you telling me I pronounced that wrong again? I practiced that about 10 times before the show. Yes, Odyssey, folks. Listen to us on Odyssey. John Smith, how are you today? Thank you for picking me up there.
Doing great, man. I'm happy that we trimmed the fat and we got the three real ribeyes here.
And in keeping with that, also joining us today is the icon of the Emerald Isle, Mr. Gary Mehaffy. Thanks for staying up late with us, Gary. How are you today?
I'm not doing too bad. And there's me thinking that it would be the foreigner who would be pronouncing things wrong on the show, and there we are straight in, and it's not me. So, I don't feel too bad.
Oh, just wait. I'm sure there'll be more of those along the way. Today's headlines. Gary and I will discuss one hell of an NXT UK Championship match, and we will preview an upcoming Japanese street fight for the NXT UK Women's Championship. We'll recap Beach Break from the luxurious shores of Cleveland, and the big match coming up this week as AEW returns to its home away from home, Chicago, Illinois. We've got a digital media championship match on the line when Jordan Grace defends against the man who created the division, at least according to him, Matt Cardona, on this week's Impact show. The WWE wasted no time getting us all hyped up for the Elimination Chamber. We'll make our picks for the matches throughout the week, presented as always by Minutes to Bell Time and sponsored by Pro Wrestling Pick'em. Play against your friends, play against the universe. We'll wrap up the show by being your preview for tonight's edition of NXT 2.0, but we kick off the show with our recap of Big Four, the Royal Rumble from this past Saturday. The show was from St. Louis, Missouri. It kicked off with Seth Rollins defeating Roman Reigns by DQ, therefore not getting the Universal Championship. So I think other than Ryan, anybody else, you gentlemen, did anybody else have Rollins? I know Ryan did. You did? Okay.
Look at that.
I did.
That's a 50-point swing right there, if I remember the numbers correctly. So Seth would enter through the crowd. He came out to the Shield music. He was in his Shield gear. That, along with everything that he did last week and the week before leading up to it, had Roman thoroughly pissed off. So 14 minutes into this match, when Roman locked in the guillotine, even though Seth got to a rope break, Roman was not letting it go. The ref gave the champ a 5 count. Nope, he wasn't letting go. Kept holding on. You get the DQ. And then afterwards, Roman loses his mind and works Rollins over viciously with a chair. So your Universal Champion still retains. But Seth did his job. He thoroughly pissed Roman Reigns off. Next, we come to the Women's Royal Rumble. Not a whole lot of surprises here. We knew of the legends who were going to be entering it. We knew that they didn't have 30 women on the roster, so we were going to see a lot of faces from the past. I think the thing that stood out the most, I'll throw it in here because it carries over to both Rumbles. John Smith, how did you feel about the fact that, especially in the Women's Rumble, where we knew they didn't have those 30 women, not a single NXT talent would be used in these Rumbles?
You know what? Like, I was thinking before the show, it didn't really bother me too much. But now that you mentioned the Women's Rumble and how we had, I mean, it was nice to see, Ivory. It was nice to see Summer Rae, I guess. It was nice to see Michelle McCool, I guess. Like, people give Michelle McCool more respect now because she's the Undertaker's wife than she ever got when she was on the roster. So, like, we didn't need to see Alicia Fox. We didn't need the Bella Twins. You could have thrown some of these NXT girls up there, like an Ivy Nile or Raquel Gonzalez. Prime them for the big stage because especially Raquel, she's sooner or later got to be moving up. As far as the men's side is concerned, we didn't really get any. Not that I could think of any real throwbacks. No veteran, no real legends coming back there. So, we didn't need to see any NXT guys in that respect. Plus, most of the NXT male roster is pretty much new, aside from like Tommaso Ciampa. Whereas, like a lot of the women, like half of them are new, but half of them have been around a while.
Yeah. First of all, I thought there was no chance we weren't seeing Casey because they love doing the female version of Kofi thing with her. She's going to do something wacky every year. And the fact that we didn't get Raquel really kind of broke my heart. Gary, what'd you think of the Women's Rumble?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you both on that. I was shocked. I thought that a couple of NXT women would be in it. And obviously they weren't. And then we had I had picked Ronda to win it, and obviously, I mean, some people weren't happy, but then I don't give a damn about her reputation. Thanks very much. But no, I mean, I thought it was good. It was the sort of thing. Yeah, I was never bored watching it. It's like there was a whole lot of ones who come in, and obviously they only got 5 seconds in and out. And I hope they got nicely paid for their 5 seconds in and out. There was some I thought would have got more. I was surprised that Melina didn't get a wee bit more at the start, and I was pleased to see that they didn't treat Mickie James and the Impact title with sort of disdain. They really pushed it, said she was, and gave her a good showing. So that aspect was really good.
Yeah, she got a nice run in there. And just to run down, I'm sure most of you who are watching us saw it, but just to run it down for those of you who didn't, we got down to the final four, which was Bianca, Charlotte, Ronda, and Ronda's pal Shayna, which you thought, was going to bode well for them at the end. They were going to be able to team up together. They didn't really have too much time to do so. Bianca and Shayna locked up. I think Bianca got Shayna up like she was going to give her the KOD. Charlotte snuck up behind the two of them and tossed them both out. That left Charlotte alone with Ronda. Charlotte got a little over-aggressive and charged at Ronda. Ronda got her over. Ronda eliminates Charlotte. She gets the win. She's moving on to WrestleMania. She pointed at the sign and everything. It made it official, of course.
See, what I don't understand is I heard that they're moving towards a Charlotte versus Ronda match. I thought it was going to be Becky versus Ronda, but the reports that I've seen is Charlotte. I don't understand that.
Yeah, that was one of the odd things to come out of Raw last night was, obviously you had we'll get to the Becky and Ronda face-off, but, Ronda was like, I haven't made my decision yet. I'll let you all know on Friday, so she's going to be on the show. So you may very well be absolutely correct there. Moving on from the Women's Rumble, we had our Raw Women's Championship match. Gary, this is your speciality because of our not the champion, but the challenger. So why don't you run us through this one?
I'll have to be careful not to go too in depth, just in case I set fire to the EWP logo up at the top here as well, because obviously I wondered when I was watching live, and I'm sure everybody who's listening will know, but when I couldn't understand why the crowd wasn't paying attention and what was going on, because it was a pretty good match. And then I heard obviously that the sign had been set on fire by Ronda's pyro. But the few big things coming out of it, I mean, it was a really good match, and it was back and forward. I love Doudrop. I've loved her since she was Viper and since she was Piper Niven over here. And she was great. I thought they would have given her a wee bit more in the build up so that people thought she would have won it. But there was a good back and forth. I did feel sorry for Becky. There was a time during it when Doudrop had her running senton and really squashed poor Becky into the mat. Like she caught her she caught her flush. But there was good back and forward. People were trying to escape some stuff. It was nice to see again Becky having her tribute to Molly Holly in the middle of it, with her Molly go round, which she got for a 2 count. It was going close. Doudrop had her all set up at the end for the banzai drop when she went to the corner, but Becky got her and then hit her manhandle slam off the middle rope and got the pin, and a good clean pin. I would say, I mean, hopefully Doudrop will still stay in that sort of mix up near the top of it, but it was good. It was good for her to be mixing it with Becky in that level. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Seeing Doudrop up near the top of the card there, you need new blood up there, and she definitely qualifies. It was great to see her get a shot. Let's take a look at a couple of the comments coming in, because I can't promise that. Come on, get it up there.
Hey, speaking of Mighty Molly, that's one thing I popped for in the Women's Rumble when she came out, and Nikki ASH, just came out of nowhere and blindsided her. There's only room for one superhero around here.
Yeah, that was speaking of Ryan Joy, that was one of his better lines in the discussion thread. Molly got the Highlander treatment. There can be only one. Nikki jumped over. Here we go. We've got James for this. As always, good to see you, James Miller. He's right along. He's right on. He's there with Gary about Walter and all that stuff. Yeah. People saying, let's see what else he had.
So, what's the big deal with Walter changing his name? Everybody changes their name. Come on.
I mean, I could have seen it if he was. If with all that Walter just on that for 2 seconds, if he had just come straight into the company, I could have seen it. I mean, I know they go through ups and downs. It's like Matt Riddle kept his, and other people have kept theirs, and then they go through like they make Daniel Bryan be Daniel Bryan instead of Bryan Danielson. You go, right, okay, but the fact that he'd been on their TV for about 3 or 4 years was a bit surprising. I think was that, and he'd only been on Takeover not too many months ago, so. But sure.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. The weird thing is, here's a guy who was a champion for almost 1,000 days, and then you're going to change his name. It comes off a little weird, but yeah, they've taken extra steps to kind of re-explain it and whatnot. We'll all get over it in a couple of months when he's kicking people's asses again. So right now, when he's not doing a lot, changing your name is like, wait, what?
And it's not like they took a badass name away from him. It's just Walter. It's like Gary or John. Like, come on. Like, it's not like they made him change his name from Tommy N. That was a badass name that they should have kept on somebody, like with Malachi Black.
Absolutely. All right, moving along within the Royal Rumble Premium event. Next, we come to our WWE Championship match. John Smith, break this one down for us, if you would.
Yeah, so we got Bobby Lashley coming out first, and then the crowd pops for Brock, of course. We get this match that, I know I've been waiting for it for years, and, I kind of felt like it was, just sloppily put together, hastily put together. It didn't get enough build-up, or the proper build-up, in my opinion. And I also felt like we were going to get some shenanigans happening, which is what ended up being the case, because we get the lockup at the beginning. They're two powerful they're two powerful guys. They, push each other off. Then Brock hits his suplex. Bobby hits a suplex right back to him, though, which, that woke Brock up a little bit. But then Brock hits 2 in a row. Bobby takes the upper hand, gets him outside, and goes for the spear through the barricade, but hits nothing but barricade. So Brock gets him back in the ring. Bobby goes for another spear, hits the turnbuckle, and then from there it was all Brock, suplex after suplex after suplex, to the point where he was going for maybe like a 7th in a row, and all of a sudden Bobby reverses into a hurt lock. He's got him in it for about a half a minute until they squish the referee into the corner while he's breaking up the master. I was about to call it the master lock. Wow. Like, as if like Chris Masters had left such an impression on my life. So the hurt lock gets broken. Referee's squished. Then Brock gets Bobby up on his shoulders, goes for the F5, hits the ref with Bobby. Ref's down. Bobby's down. Cover. 1, 2, 3, but there's no ref. So Brock's, doing the whole "where's the referee" thing that we've been seeing for our whole lives. And all of a sudden we get a spear from Roman Reigns out of nowhere. Crowd erupts for that and boos more than cheers. And then all of a sudden Roman and Paul Heyman lock eyes. Roman puts his hand out and Paul hands him the belt. He takes the belt right to the back of Brock Lesnar. Bobby Lashley gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. New WWE champion and a really pissed off Beast.
Which we'll come back to a little while later because it had a definite effect on later events.
Yeah.
So, yes, we have your new WWE champion. The next match was the Miz and Mrs. versus Beth and Mr. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Miz and Maurice. The mixed tag that, let's be honest, on this card, this turned out to be your bathroom break match. No offense to the legends involved. We had Maurice hit Beth in the back of the head with the loaded purse again, but she only got a 2 count out of it. The Grit couple would get the upper hand again on the It couple and hit stereo glam slams, and Edge would cover Miz for the win. They went 12.5 minutes, which is probably more than it even needed. But, a good match, but forgettable on this otherwise pretty darn good card. Moving along, we get to the Men's Rumble, the main event of the evening. And as we said earlier, this would be flavored by the way the WWE Championship match went. Once again, you have no NXT stars in it. Your biggest surprise was the returns of Bad Bunny and Shane McMahon. Oh, goody. Gary, maybe the biggest surprise for me, just because I thought he legitimately was going to get a month and a half off, was the return of your boy Drew. How'd you feel seeing your buddy back?
Oh, it was great seeing him back. I mean, I had no inkling that he was coming back at all. No, funny enough, I had picked him. I saw part of the preview show that couldn't be on Friday, and I was saying to you, like, I had picked him just because I had a feeling he was going to be back. I hadn't heard. But it was great to see him back. I was surprised he was in just as early as he was. I thought he might have been held back just another 3 or 4 numbers and kind of come out slightly later. But it was good seeing him back, and it was good that they've kept him really involved, like I say, keeping him through up until the final shot.
Yeah, and okay, now as far as interesting things that went on here, other than the return of McIntyre and the not so wonderful returns of Bad Bunny and Shane McMahon, I kind of wonder if down the line we're going to see, in terms of fallout from this, there was a spot where Omos was in there with like 7 or 8 guys, and everyone decided it's time to get the big man out, give him the old Andre the Giant treatment where everyone gangs up on him because that's the only way it's going to happen. And they were in a stalemate. Just then, Dom Mysterio comes down. He's the tipping point. He's the last guy to toss him out. almost makes me wonder whether or not Omos is going to now have kind of a grudge if he's going to spend like the next couple of weeks beating the hell out of the Mysterios. John Smith, what was your takeaway from the men's Rumble? Anything that surprised you or tickled you or otherwise?
I was very surprised that Madcap Moss eliminated AJ Styles. That was a big thing there. I was surprised that Shane McMahon threw out Kevin Owens because I figured Shane was in there to set up something for WrestleMania, and we've already had him versus Kevin Owens. So I don't know what that was all about. I don't think Shane got any other eliminations besides that. So, yeah, that was a big. And then of course the Kofi Kingston botch. I was curious what he was about to do with that whole, because he's clung to the wall before. So I was wondering what the hell he was going to do next. But if they had known that was going to happen, I guess Casey would have been in the women's Rumble instead of Alicia Fox.
Yeah, that was just a shame. Supposedly he had a spot planned with Big E. I don't know if that was after Big E's elimination when he was going to carry him back or something. I guess we'll never know at this point. But getting down to your final four, it was down to Riddle, Shane, Drew, and Brock. And Brock Lesnar, of course, entered at number 30. He was, I guess, I don't want to say the biggest surprise, but you kind of saw it coming, but you were maybe hoping it wasn't going to be. But yeah, it was. And when he came in, it was all Brock all day long. He took care of everyone who was left, including giving an F5 to Bad Bunny. That one at least gave me a chuckle. And Brock it would get down to just Brock and Drew in a repeat of things that we've seen before, but we're absolutely pleased and tickled to see again. And Brock would eventually come out on top. He is your Royal Rumble winner. He's going on to WrestleMania, and we already know who he's going after. But this brings us to the Essential Wrestling Podcast. Where is... Oh, come on with these graphics.
Hey, say what you want about Bad Bunny, guys. He can take a freaking bump, though. He does it the right way. He's not all like... celebrity about it.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. He's a guy who obviously is a longtime wrestling fan, and therefore he's willing to take what he's got to take.
That doesn't mean that I want to see more Bad Bunny, by the way. I was just trying to give the guy a little credit.
So our PWP standings in the WWE only pool, we've got Maggie May still on top. And then a lot of us kind of clumped together right behind, or not right behind her, but kind of well behind her. In the overall EWP standings, it is Ryan by a whole lot. And had it not been for that DQ in the Seth Roman match, that's a 50-point swing. Things would be a lot closer, but Ryan continues to run away with this one so far. All right, John Smith, we're going to give you a breather. Gary and I are going to talk a little UK.
Hey, let me just say one more thing. I think what got proved the most last week is that Jordan Devlin can't even beat a man with no arms.
Missing you already.
Bye, guys.
See you in a bit. All right. Well, I guess we know right where we're going here. We're going back to last Thursday's NXT UK recap, where we had an empty arena, no DQ, false count anywhere match for the NXT UK Championship. Gary, wow, what a match this was.
It really was. I mean, I know when I was talking about it last week, I had myself convinced that we were going to have a title change because they were doing it in front of no fans, and this would be a way to kind of fool everybody and get it done. But I loved it from the start, from even before the match started, when Andy Shepherd was doing his voiceover and stuff and talking about it, and you saw them ushering the fans out of the arena, and you kind of went, obviously that was just the end of the normal night's tapings, but they made that look as if it was all playing in, which I loved. And then even before the bell went, you had Jordan Devlin coming in and headbutting Dragunov and starting it. and they just literally fought just each other tooth and nail. It was a proper just giving each other a kicking. And what I actually liked, it's one of those. There were people talking like during the pandemic, during those empty arena stuff for like last year, whatever, the year before. Everybody was talking about, oh, how can you make a match look good if there's no fans there and you can really hear what's going on, and are you gonna like how's it gonna be? And I thought this was gonna hark back to that, and it was great. I mean, they were just beating each other, and there was trash talk the whole way through it. And you had the way the match went. To be fair, when you had Ilya trying for Torpedo Moscow as the match had gone on, I wasn't going to hit it, and I did think either he's going to hit it somewhere and he'll get the win, but I don't think it's going to happen. And obviously it did. Now, and as John alluded to there, when Jordan Devlin could have been a man with no arms, obviously Ilya had his arms like cable tied, or what? Yeah, I think it was cable ties he used. The kind of tie his hands behind his back and was beating them. And then as we came through, after both of them taking a vicious beating from the other, right at the end, Ilya hit a kick and then got the Torpedo Moscow and hit him as he came off the steel steps that Jordan Devlin had put into the ring. Hit the steel steps and hit him. And it came to me as a surprise that he pinned him off that one move. But I say it was a very clean end of the match, so very decisive.
Yeah, and there was great psychology throughout. You had Ilya went for Torpedo Moscow earlier, completely missed, put himself through a table with Jordan not even there. Both of them went at each other with chairs, the road cases at ringside. Devlin he whipped him with those cable ties before he locked him up, and you already kind of had the feel of the halftime heat because it was, you knew you were going to get feelings for Rock and Mankind going back to that infamous match. But then once he tied his hands behind his back, you also kind of had a throwback to Rock and Mankind at the 99 Rumble, that hideous too many chair shots match. It was just fantastic back and forth. And yes, as you said, Ilya coming off those the half of the ring steps there, just kind of, and he kind of was out of the camera view because he had just avoided. Devlin was going for something of a concerto. He had him, arms tied behind his back, his head down on those half a ring steps. He missed them with that, and Ilya kind of disappeared from the picture for a little while there, and then he comes back just out of nowhere. Boom! Torpedo Moscow. 1, 2, 3. Just a fantastic match.
It really was, and actually, it really wasn't. And the thing actually I love about Ilya Dragunov when you see him in a match, I mean, and everybody talks about people selling or whatever, he almost cries his way through the match. Like, he really makes it feel like, no, please, I'm being beat. Don't do this. This is so sore. Stop. And you go, this is great, because you actually genuinely feel sorry for him. You really want to see him do well. And then when he does, that's why the crowd are absolutely so into him, like, because you just feel for him so much. So I say I was surprised that they kept it on him, but I was pleasantly surprised because he's a great wrestler and a great champion. So
yeah, and it's and you and Al have spoken, and you and Ryan have spoken before, in terms of who may or may not come across to one of the main rosters. I gotta think, when one of Vince's main things is, okay, he wants size, he wants youth. Drag isn't huge, but he's got enough size where he's not going to get forgotten, lost in the mix by Vince. He certainly has youth, and as you were just saying, the way he sells, I mean, okay, it was empty arena, so you hear it even more. There was nothing to drown it out, but he's cursing at him in Russian throughout the match. He almost cries his way through certain segments, and his body, he's kind of pale, so his body lights up when he gets whether it be a chair shot across the back or a chop across the chest. There's just so much to the presentation of Ilya Dragunov. I gotta think that's a guy who is destined for the main roster at some point.
Yeah, definitely. You would definitely think so. But it's probably one of the reasons actually why keep the title on him for a wee bit more, because obviously they've just done it with Walter, held the title for so long. you lost it. Okay, away you go. And so do the same for him. It's like get a couple of other people up to that level, then take a title off him. Okay, away you go, and nobody would begrudge him going. So
absolutely. All right, so going from one of your favorites there on unfortunately on the losing side of that one, Jordan Devlin, to one of your other absolute favorites. The match right before this was Ginny and Amal.
love it.
So
Moving
we had
swiftly
Ginny
on.
and Amal one-on-one here. Go ahead and break that one down for us.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually pleasantly shocked. They've done a good job with Amal and her build up, and I just want to look at the time. It was like 6.5 minutes or so. They gave her. I was just checking how long it was. They've done a good job of building Amal up, and I actually thought, and it shows you maybe no wonder I'm not winning in the EWP pool. I actually thought when I saw the match was happening, Amal's going to win this. They've done a really good job with her, and they've set her up. Now, obviously, as far as the TV presentation goes, she's not on Jenny's level in that respect.
Right.
But you had Jenny going for her, and Amal trying to take her over and trying to get a bit of offense, and it was a little bit clunky at times, as it's going to be. But when Jenny locked her in the octopus, I thought, okay, this could end a little bit quicker than we thought. But Amal escaped; she got out of it. Rammed Jenny's head into the turnbuckles, and it hit her running kick. And when she hit the Northern Lights suplex, I thought, oh, okay, maybe we're going to see that she is going to take this. That she didn't, and obviously Jenny pulling the hair to get out. And then eventually you had Jenny doing the old school heel pin of pinning her in the corner, and when the ref's not looking, just at the end, get your feet up on the turnbuckles just for that added rubbing your nose in it.
Yeah.
But it's been good to see them. I didn't think when Amal came in at first, I thought, okay, what will they do with her? But they have figured out that her backstory, and they've made her a good sympathetic character that people could get behind. And this has done her good, because for as much as Jenny, I know people are shocked about this, as much as she's not my favorite wrestler, and I know that's a shock. But she's a good heel character. And she is up at that level, and people do see her in NXT UK as being one of the top women on it. And so for Amal to be given a good chance and to come across as a genuine threat to her can only do Amal good in the long run. So,
yeah, absolutely. It wasn't exactly a 50-50 match, but Amal got her offense in, and she had her set up for the Hope Breaker right before Ginny powered her way out with those elbow strikes to the back of the head. And as you said, heel tactics for the win. But, Amal definitely gave almost just pretty much as good as she got. So that can only elevate her to tangle with someone like Ginny and make it look convincing. And think a minute there. You said so eloquently a few minutes ago, oh my God, is she going to take this one?
yeah.
Didn't work out, but that's how you move people up the card. All right, before this, we had dueling promos between the two teams that we're going to pick the match next. Ashton Smith, Oliver Carter, and Jack Stars and Dave Mastiff. These gentlemen they've won they're in this little mini tournament. They won their first round matches. They're going to face each other, and the winner will go on to get a shot at Mustache Mountain. Who do you have coming out of this one and facing the tag champs?
I changed my mind about 20 minutes ago, right? Because I was sitting thinking about it, and the whole way along, I'm like, yeah, Stars and Mastiff. Okay, Stars and Mastiff. This is kind of their... But what I think, and I've been expecting an Oliver Carter heel turn for about 5 years, it seems like. I thought it's been coming. But they've put so much, I think, into Smith and Carter. And they've now got more matching attire and all that sort of thing. But they've given them a whole, we've tagged for longer, we've known each other longer, all this sort of stuff. So I actually do think that Smith and Carter are going to take it. And because I think for Stars and Mastiff can win at any time, and they can easily get their momentum back. You just need them to come in, and Big Dave can just squash somebody, and they're back again. So I think that Smith and Carter will take it, and then it'll be the more athletic sort of match against Mustache Mountain. But I'm going for that. So I said,
All right.
literally changed my mind about 20 minutes ago.
Well, now I know I've listened to you and Al talk for a long time about Jack Stars, and you guys talked about him as if he's a gatekeeper, almost a borderline doormat. Now I have only been watching UK on the regular fairly recently. I haven't seen the kid loose, so
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, he's got the rocket ship strapped to his he's on his way to the moon. But I will take your word for it, Smith and Carter. That's going to be a great match either way, but be interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, although I will say, I mean, sorry, just when you said there about Jack Stars, I do think that when they start to let, or when we get slightly bigger crowds back at the NXT UK, I honestly, genuinely think that Jack Stars is going to get pushed to the moon, because I think the crowds are going to go, you have been kind of treated as that, yeah, you're just here. But you know what? You've put the time in. You're an unbelievable physical specimen at the minute. You're a good wrestler. You can get the crowd behind you. I honestly do think that when there's more crowds back, that he is going to be somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah. There are always those guys that they get elevated just because the crowd's behind them. And the way he's been performing recently, I think you're absolutely right. He will definitely benefit from that. All right, sticking in the tag division, the show kicked off with Di Familia and the Gallus boys going at it. This one came down to a submission victory, and that is the second member of Gallus now that Dempsey has gotten to tap out. What do you think? What do you think the fallout of this one is, Gary?
Oh, I don't care. That's all we need to know. Charlie Dempsey won. That's good enough for me. Let's move on. No, I mean, yeah, it is, because it hadn't sort of occurred to me, and I thought, oh yeah, okay. And when they won, and I was pleased to see that they won, and I say when Charlie Dempsey did it, but as you said there, now that they've made it, okay, that's two that he's tapped out. Now it's just Big Joe, and I was like, oh, hello, okay, right. Now here's where we're going. Okay, so you do expect in a couple of weeks' time that's what's going to happen, and I actually even genuinely do expect that Charlie Dempsey will go over. That when they come to have that match, because I do think that they, as much as Joe and should be in the top mix and still is, they obviously they're all about making some new stars, and there's no bigger way to do it than have, for instance, Charlie Dempsey, who is brilliant, and I genuinely I love as a technical wrestler. I think he's brilliant. And as a character, it's been interesting. Although the one thing I did think was interesting was obviously after they won, that backstage when you had everybody's favorite singing cowboy Nathan Fraser, it just sounds like a country and western singer to me, but whatever. He, like, when he was in the Di Familia dressing room, and did just say that specifically to Charlie Dempsey, and go, he's only keeping you about, just you. And I thought, okay, what's coming? So whether there'll be like a Teoman Nathan Fraser match first before that, and he proves his worth by beating Nathan Fraser, I don't know. But I thought that was an interesting thing, because you're waiting on, as you say, Charlie Dempsey coming up against the last member of Gallus, and all of a sudden now you're going, oh, but we've also got this coming as well. All right, okay. And that they really do build stuff up well. I love, like, the NXT UK show. For anybody who's watching there or listening now, like, if you're not watching that, like, get on it. It's literally 55 minutes or an hour of easy to watch, but it's so well planned and so well booked, as well as being really well wrestled every week. So
yeah, absolutely. You're never going to get a bad match, but yeah, the little stuff that, now I don't know everyone on the roster, so sometimes for me it's a little bit of homework, so figuring out what's going on and all the interminglings. But it's so well put together, and every time I watch, like, I don't always watch it, but when I whether I have to fill in for taking some notes or whatnot, every time I watch it at the end, I say to myself, like, why am I not watching? Why am I lazy and not turning it? If this had been on TV, I know I'd be watching this every week. It's just a matter of being lazy because I can't stand the Peacock app.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're always getting a good show.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up here, we've got we had a video package between Meiko Satomura and Bleu to borrow from Al Bleu Davenport. They've already had one match. Meiko retained, but Blair attacked her right again afterwards. So this one's all headed towards next week, a Japanese street fight, the NXT UK Women's Championship. Gary, what do you see happening here?
I mean, I thought we'd have a title change in the first match. I really did. And when they had the first match, as you said, and Blair beat her up afterwards, and when this match was announced, on the one hand, you would go, well, it's a Japanese street fight. That's up Mako's street. She's going to win this.
Sure.
But I still go, we have no... So I'm still going to put... I'll not bet my house. I'll bet Al's house on Blair Davenport taking it. Now, whether she does it clean or whether, like, for instance, even Amelia McKenzie, if she gets involved and accidentally costs Mako or accidentally distracts somebody or something like that, but I'm still going to go for Blair Davenport, I think, to beat her. And then actually you could then have her as the heel boasting, saying, oh, this is your type of match, and I beat you. There's nobody can beat me. Come on, bring it on, type of thing. So I'm gonna go fingers crossed for my finally getting my title change. I suppose if I just say title change every time, I'll be right at some point. But
at some point, it's got to happen. Even the forever champion eventually had to drop that title, right? Excellent. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Obviously, a lot less informed I am than you in these matters, but it just seems like it's leading up to Davenport not only beating her, but as you said, being able to dine out on the fact that she beat Satomura in a Japanese street fight. Very much looking forward to it. Gary, thank you so much for spending the extra time with us today, as we are shorthanded, and it's always a pleasure to have you around. Sir, we will speak to you again next week.
Yep, I shall speak to you then. Have a good one.
Take care, sir. Thank you. All right, we're going to bring back in John Smith. How are you,
Get that guy out of here.
I love the interaction between you two.
I like being able to talk smack about him now that he's not coming back on the show for the rest of the show. That's when I really open up, because I know he can't have any comebacks. He'll just write something stupid in the private chat.
And he's got a week to fume on it, right?
Right? Yeah.
All right. We're gonna move along to AEW, who presented us with Beach Break last week from the love shores of the lake in Cleveland, Ohio. The show opened with a match that I'm sure you did a lot of fast forwarding through with Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes. They were unifying their TNT championship in a ladder match. They went 20 plus minutes, almost 25 minutes. There were some great spots. There was just off the top of my head, Cody at one point hit a stalling vertical suplex where he was one rung away from the top of the 10-foot ladder. And watching the two of them come down, it was definitely a hold your breath moment. They had to get that perfect, or else somebody was going to get messed up. Plenty of big spots, obviously, as you always get in a ladder match. Plenty of moments where you say to yourself, dear God, why are these guys doing this to themselves? You had Sammy's buddy Fuego come out and not really get involved. He just kind of got in Cody's face and started barking at him. And Cody got rid of him real quick with a Tiger Driver. And eventually you get Cody and Sammy both up at the top of the tall ladder. Sammy used the swinging belts to crack Cody in the face, knock him to the mat, which gave him plenty of time to wait for the belts to stop swinging out of his range, grab him, yank them down. Your new unified TNT champion is Sammy Guevara, and he celebrated with hugs from his best buddy Fuego afterwards.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah. This makes more sense. Let him move on. Even if he's going to wind up dropping it back to Miro when they decide to bring him back out and, have him have an angry on and go back after that title. But yeah, there was really no reason for Cody to be back in that discussion. So we go from the TNT Championship match to Tony Schiavone out in a snow-covered beach, freezing his ass off, talking to Starks and Hobbs. Hobbs challenges Dante to a rematch because he tells him, it was just a lucky shot that you beat me. But more importantly, here we have a match we're going to have to pick. We've got Absolute Ricky Stark, your FTW champion, accepting Jay Lethal's challenge for a shot at that FTW title. And it's going to happen this week on Rampage in Chicago. Smith, who do you got?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say Ricky Starks holds on to that FTW belt. I don't think they're going to start having to jump around to different people. They've already doubled the amount of people who have ever held it ever since it's been in AEW. So you don't want to have that belt jumping around too much. Although I would love to see Jay Lethal win it, but I got Ricky Starks.
All right, I think you're probably right because, like you said, you don't want it to jump around, and Taz is going to lose his mind if it leaves Team Taz. But I did just think of this as I was going through my notes. Wouldn't this be a heck of a way? Jay Lethal, here's a guy, you're bringing him in from outside. He's not a huge step through the forbidden door, but it was had a nice ripple when he showed up. People were excited, and he's not going after the big title in this company. Wouldn't it be a pisser if he was the one to take it off Starks, only for it to come back around and it to be taken off of Lethal by Hook back in Team Taz family? And now it's on Taz's son. Wouldn't that make Taz a proud papa?
Yeah, and then Ricky Starks could then turn face because I think the crowd wants to cheer that guy. He acts like such a douche that he still gets the boos. But that guy, I think he would be an awesome face. And then him versus Team Taz, and then maybe then you start to establish Hook as a real player.
Absolutely. Yeah, he can't have 2-minute squash matches forever, especially, 165 pounds with rocks in his pocket. It fails to be believable after a while. He's going to have to really start to lengthen out and become a technician. Otherwise, he doesn't have enough to really get over. But he really is over right now, that is Hook.
Yep.
Okay, next we had Wardlow against the devastating duo of Elijah Dean and James Alexander, or as I've nicknamed them, what happens when you order FTR off of Wish.com. This was a handicap match, and of course, Wardlow played his Powerbomb Symphony. It was in 6 parts on this particular evening, with the final movement being a powerbomb of Dean onto Alexander, a double stack pin with a foot on the chest for the win in 82 seconds. That was followed by the Inner Circle and 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. These are your boys from Everrise. John, why don't you break this one down for us?
Yeah, I always love seeing my boys Everrise in a match. They'll always be Everrise to me. It'll always be Burma to me. We get Chris Jericho and Santana and Ortiz going up against Daniel Garcia and 2.0. Jericho starts the match, and it's the last time we see him in the match because after he gets tagged out pretty quickly, Santana and Ortiz then just only tag each other for the rest of this match. And there was some bad blood, boiling, simmering between these this group leading up to this week, and it seems like it kind of starting to boil over now because Santana and Ortiz, like Jericho blind tagged himself in, and then I don't remember if it was Santana and Ortiz, whichever one was still on the outside, then blind tagged himself right in, and then they jaw jacked at each other for a little bit. Jericho was down on the floor for a while, looked like maybe he would walk away, but you know what? There's a purse that goes to the winner. So Jericho stuck around, and when Santana or Ortiz, one of them kicked out, and the guy from 2.0 went through the ropes, Jericho Judas affected him from the outside, and they get the roll up win. I wouldn't call it a roll up because there was a Judas effect beforehand, but yeah, we get the Inner Circle winning, but Jericho flips them off at the end, telling them this is how it's going to be. Then it's not going to be that way at all.
Yeah. Jericho leaving on his own with Santana and Ortiz in the ring, like, what's going on, buddy? And they're barking at each other from the top of the ramp all the way to the ring. Bad times in the Inner Circle, and I'm sure Eddie Kingston will be there to stoke those fires. We move on from that one to a Lance Archer promo. And it was kind of a dueling promo between Lance Archer and Hangman Page. They've got a big match coming up in a couple of weeks in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Lance mentioned that the title fight is going to be a Texas death match. And Hangman didn't seem to know that. The guy who was interviewing him kind of like, so what do you think about that? And he was like, wait, what? So Hangman was a bit taken aback by it, but in the end, he said, that's all right. He's coming back. He said, choke slam me to the abyss, but I'm coming back from the abyss and I'm bringing hell with me. Well, we're still behind you, Hangman. Hopefully, it's not going to be fun. I can tell you that much.
What's the difference between a regular death match and a Texas death match? Do we know?
Honestly, last time I think it was because they were actually in Texas. This one obviously is not going to be. I don't know.
Because I know there's ones where it's just like, hey, there's a lot of stuff that can kill you, and we call it a death match. And then there's other ones where you pin the guy, and then he's got 10 seconds to stand up before the match is over.
I think that's this, because if I remember correctly, when he beat Mox for the IWGP US title, it was in a Texas death match, and that was the gimmick, was that Mox fell through the table, but there was also barbed wire on it, so Mox couldn't get up at a 10 count. So I think that's what this one is, the 10 count.
Gotcha.
Then we move on to CM Punk making his way down to the ring. He's dressed to fight. He's showing off his trophy from the week before. He had MJF's scarf. This brought MJF out in front of the Tron. CM Punk said he's dressed, he's ready to go, but he knows MJF's too much of a coward. He's not going to face him. MJF comes out and says, got nothing to do with me being a coward. I'm just not going to waste this match on Cleveland. Cheap heel heat. Anyway, FTR and Wardlow come out. It looks like they're going to gang up on Punk. Punk seems ready for it, but then Spears attacks him from behind. They work him over with a chair, and MJF strikes the pipe bomb pose, crossing his legs and sitting on top of Punk's chest to say, we're finally going to get that match we all want next week in Chicago. So let's pick this one. Chicago, Illinois, CM Punk, MJF. Who you got in this one?
If the match actually happens, which I'm still iffy on that, because I can totally see CM Punk getting jumped on the ramp on his walk to the ring by Wardlow and everybody. But I mean, CM Punk, if this match goes off, CM Punk wins this match. It's in Chicago. I mean, it would be huge heel heat if MJF were to win somehow. But the way that everything's going, like, Punk has gotten punked a couple times now, so he needs to stand tall at the end of this, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. This is where AEW paints themselves into a corner, because they don't have disqualifications, they don't have countouts, they don't have BS finishes like that. This is where you could really use one, because it feels like eventually CM Punk should be putting MJF over. But as big as the crowds always are in Chicago for AEW, it feels like this one should be happening at a pay-per-view if MJF is going to win. So I'm with you. I think Punk finds a way to win here, unless they find a way to do something screwy and kind of half get out of it. Okay, we've got next we had Layla Hirsch, legit Layla Hirsch against Red Velvet. She would catch Red Velvet trying to land a spinning back kick and counter into the Raw roll-up with a handful of tights and get the victory here. Afterwards, Layla would jump back on Red Velvet, and she'd use the cross arm breaker, which brought out Chris Statlander for the save. Layla wanted no part of that. She rolled out. And that brings us to, oh no, again, not yet. Okay, we had a promo from House of Black. They declare that Pac and the Death Triangle will be humbled, which I always love hearing people say they're going to break back, make humble. We've got this match is coming up this week on Dynamite. It's going to be in the form of Pac and Penta versus Malachi Black and Brody King. Who do you got in this one?
That's tough. Oh, man. Just brought Brody King in. Do you really want to have him lose? Because otherwise, Malachi Black's the one that's getting pinned. So I'm going to have to go with the House of Black on this one.
Yeah, I completely agree. As much as we've gotten a couple of promos. Not that I can understand a word that the man says, but we've had a couple of promos the last couple of weeks from Pac. That he's coming back from being blinded, and you'd think he's going to tear through a couple of people, but not these two guys. So I'm with you. I think the House of Black takes this one. Shortly thereafter, we went back to the announce table where I don't know what they were selling us this time, but they were interrupted by Vicky screaming, and eventually Nyla coming out and taking the mic out onto the stage, saying she wants Ruby Soho for costing her shot at the TBS title. We kind of forgot about this for a couple of weeks, but looks like we're getting back at it. That match is also going to happen this week on Dynamite in Chicago. Who do you have between Ruby Soho and Nyla Rose?
I'm going to go with Ruby Soho. They didn't give her that belt, so I think they're going to keep giving her wins otherwise.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, obviously Nyla has the big size advantage here, and I could see her manhandling Ruby, but at some point in time, Ruby's going to come up with that, what used to be the riot kick, whatever the hell she calls it now, and she'll probably get the victory here. Okay, so then we had Britt coming out, and there's really no story to this one. It didn't add to anything. It didn't progress any storyline. It just was Britt Baker using all of her. She came out in black and yellow. She had her, DMD terrible tower. This was just an absolutely masterful heel owning an audience and just making the people in Cleveland feel like crap and boo her terribly. And ending up with saying, not only did she, she's resurrected this women division, and she did it all with a broken freaking wrist, because not even her fellow Pittsburghian Kurt Angle is safe from her gimmick infringement. And mostly the exclamation point on the end of it was her saying, I am finally a Baker that Cleveland can count on. God damn, she's good.
Yeah. And it's also true, because that was a failure of a number one overall pick when they could have had Josh Allen that year. Holy crap.
Ain't that the truth? So this brings us to our main event. The lights went out. The lights went back on, just to let us know that this one isn't official. This one's off the books. This one is all, no holds barred. Anything goes. Falls count anywhere between Orange Cassidy and Adam Cole. And they did exactly that. They fought all over the place. You had a cute moment about 2 minutes into it where Adam Cole went underneath the ring to pull out a chair to beat on Cassidy. And he dragged Danhausen, who was hanging on to the other end of the chair, out from under the ring. He stood up. He got his big pop from the crowd. Him and Cole kind of looked at each other confused, and Danhausen took off. It had nothing to do with the rest of the match. It was just a way to say, hey, look who's all elite now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I heard an interview with this guy a couple of years ago on Busted Open Radio on like Sirius XM. Sure. And he kept saying, like, I'm very good, very evil. I'm very good, very evil. Very nice, very evil. Not very good. Very nice, very evil. I was like, what the heck is going on with it? Like, is this guy, does he have something going on in his head, or is he just like, I don't know, man.
This is another one of those things that I think can only flourish in AEW. Not unlike Orange Cassidy himself, who's in this match. That, the first couple of times I see it, I say to myself, I don't get it. Why does everyone seem to love this? but he's totally over.
Well,
Anyway.
we'll see if he can. We'll see if he can wrestle.
Yeah,
All right?
exactly. Because I've definitely not seen any of that yet. So you had these two beat each other all around the ringside area and up the ramp. They were backstage for a minute. They were back out on top of the stage. You had all their buddies try and get involved. Cutler came out. He was cut off by Wheeler Yuta. Fish came out. He was thwarted by Chuck. The Bucks came out. They were run off by Roppongi Vice. Eventually, Cole hits a low blow, but this time, because he's had it happen to him before, Orange Cassidy is wearing not just a cup, but a cup lined with thumbtacks. That didn't work out, baby. And eventually, they would wind up on top of one of the tunnels. They built a platform next to it. Cassidy gave him a hug because, again, you got to give the people what they want. And Cole was very uncomfortable with that, and they were kind of shaking each other off. They fell off. They fell through a gimmicked portion of the stage onto some nice crash pads that we weren't supposed to see. And I guess Orange Cassidy just happened to wind up on top for the 1, 2, 3 because it was false count anywhere. Cassidy finally gets one in this feud, but because it was a lights out match, Cole can continue to say he's never been beaten because it didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, my original thought was he was going to win this because this is the type of match that he wins.
Absolutely.
But then it makes sense while he's still like undefeated to have him lose this because he could get so much heel heat from that. Like, hey, I'm still undefeated, guys. I'm 9-0. You know.
Yep. Yeah, Ryan and I were going back and forth in our on Facebook Messenger, I think, right after this, and I was like, I could kick myself for not seeing that this is where they were going with this. This is where you get Cole to lose a match, but because it doesn't count, he can still say he's undefeated. Damn it, why didn't I see that coming?
Yep.
So that wraps up Beach Break, although we're still talking AEW, but let's just quickly take a look at our AEW standings. And, ooh, look at that. I'm still on top just by a hair. Ryan Joy right behind me, and you and Travis right behind that. This one's still respectable, although, as we all know, Ryan is running away overall. Moving on to Rampage. We started off the night with Moxley getting a win over Bowens. They gave him 12 minutes, but in the end, no one was surprised to see it was a paradigm shift, the suplex version, since there technically are two versions of that. It was a paradigm shift for the 1, 2, 3, and perhaps even more intriguingly, we saw Bryan Danielson backstage watching on a monitor. Clearly, something is coming down the line between Mox and D-Bry.
Yup.
And that's going to be good. We go from this to Andrade finding his way into Sting and Darby's locker room. Sting was not around, so Andrade would introduce himself to the little kid who works for Sting and offer him a contract. Darby would let Andrade know that there are a lot of things that money can buy, but his dignity is not among them. And Andrade, of course, doesn't take no for an answer, so he will speak to Sting, Darby's boss. Following this was the match between FTR and Shotty Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson, where, of course, you had a fun little spot outside the ring where Tully tried to sneak up on Brock Anderson, only to get spun around and take a left hook from Coach Arn. FTR would win this one with their two-man spike pile driver, Dax making the cover. It went about 10 minutes. After this, we got another one of those dueling promo video packages, this one between Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez. These two will face this coming week on Rampage. So we got to make a pick here. John Smith, who do you got between Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez?
Why is this Mercedes' first match in AEW?
In AEW, I believe so. Yeah, I think all she's done to this point is interfere.
I'm just going to go with history on this one. Mercedes has got to win in her debut match. It's usually how it goes. So, maybe she'll cheat a little bit because it looks like she's the heel in this situation, but I got Mercedes winning this.
Yeah. If you told me this match was happening a month ago when they were still doing the TBS tournament, I would have said that Rosa wins this because I thought that, she was going to lose by getting taken advantage of by Brits, whether it was Rebel or Hater, because I thought she was headed towards Brit and a shot at that title. But if she's making a stop here with Mercedes, then it's okay if she loses, I guess. Mercedes coming in as a fairly big name in the women's division, so I think she's got to get a win in her first shot here.
Definitely.
All right. Moving along, we had Jade Cargill and her hand-picked challenger for a TBS championship defense, Julia Hart. This is a Jade Cargill, the female Goldberg. So this one only went 2.5 minutes. Jade hit a running pump kick to Julia's face that Julia didn't see coming because she kicked her on the side of the face where she's still blinded by the black mist from Malachi Black. And of course, she followed with Jaded for the 1-2-3. That brings us to our main event for the tag team titles. John, why don't you break this one down for us, please?
Yes, so we get the Jurassic Express versus Private Party, who are a part of the new AHFO. The A stands for Andrade.
Yes, indeed.
Although it did seem like it stood for Ass Boys at the beginning of this match, because the Ass Boys made their presence felt with Jurassic Express during their entrance, which gave them, I almost called them the Street Profits, which gave Private Party the upper hand to start. Go to commercial, come back. Luchasaurus has one member of Private Party each holding on to each of his ankles, and he's walking across the ring to get the tag into Jungle Boy. That was pretty fun. Fast forward a little later, Jungle Boy's propped up to do for a power bomb. It looked, I think, or maybe it was reversed, but Luchasaurus plucks him off the guy's shoulders, puts him on his own shoulders, like in a chicken fight position. Then off the top rope comes, I guess, Mark Quinn, right? And it was he goes for the crossbody on Jungle Boy, who's on top of Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy backflips it into like a moonsault body slam, which was pretty badass. And then we get a 1-2-3 with the what the hell is the name of their move? It's the backflip into a power bomb type thing. I don't know.
Yeah, Excalibur.
Thoracic Express, I think it's called.
Yeah. I knew it was close to their name, but every time Excalibur says it, someone's usually screaming in the middle of it, and you can't exactly hear what he says.
I don't know if I just, don't pay good enough attention, but it's the first time I seen that move. It was pretty badass. It was, the guy ended up in a sit-down power bomb off of, like, Luchasaurus, just throwing him over his shoulder. It was crazy. Then the Ass Boys come in and lay the beat down on Jungle Boy with the belts across the head, and same thing to Luchasaurus. So it looks like we're moving towards the Gun Club versus Jurassic Express for this title. I like how this tag division is really picking up now.
Yeah. There's so many good teams there. In fact, it was 2 weeks ago, I guess, when they won, a bunch of teams came out and lined the top of the stage there. They were all just kind of like, sending a message like, hey, we won next. And you looked at them, and every one of them, you said, like, yeah, I could see each one of those guys getting a run with these titles. So, we should have, whether they do a little round robin tournament or something, there's some really good matchups ahead in that tag division.
Absolutely.
All right, we are going to move on from Dynamite and Rampage, put away AEW for now, and move on to Impact. Some interesting things going on in the Impact world. Let's see. We started the show with Jake Something and Chris Bay, a match that you thought to yourself, there's not a whole lot going on here. A big man versus a little guy who can really fly. Jake Something would win with his black hole slam that I believe he calls Into the Void. Okay, no big deal. But all the excitement the majority of the excitement comes after the match when GOD, the Gorillas of Destiny, make their way out to attack Jake. Speedball Mike Bailey tries to make the save, He's taken out by a returning Jay White, who we haven't seen in a couple of months. And then God talked right into the camera to let the Good Brothers know there's no more running from us. We're here, and we want those tag titles. Oh, boy, that's going to be fun down the line, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not really too familiar with the Gorillas of Destiny, but from what I hear and the little I've seen of them, I am definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one. I haven't seen too many of their matches, but they're that upper echelon of guys that even though I've almost never seen their matches, you can't be a wrestling fan and not know at least who they are. So
I'm pretty sure they were in that match, in that cage match that I saw at MLW down in Philly.
Okay.
A few months ago.
All right, that was like the War Games-ish match?
Yeah, it was a War Games match, but in one ring. It was quite the cluster bleep once all 10 guys were in there.
Good stuff. So we go from that opening match to the group that we're now calling Honor No More, the Ring of Honor 5. They make their way through the crowd as we go to commercial break. We come back from commercial break, and Eddie Edwards, Chris Sabin, Rich Swann, Josh Alexander, and Rhino are all in the ring, ready to hold them off. Rhino's inviting them into the ring. Scott D'Amore comes out and cuts that off and says, absolutely not. These 5 do not represent Ring of Honor. They have no honor. What do they even want? What are they here for? Maria Kanellis gets on the mic and says, we just want an opportunity, just like everybody else. Scott says, fine, but not tonight. You're not messing up our show. You can have it at no surrender. Chris Sabin says, that's not good enough. I don't want to wait. Pick one of them. One of them's getting their ass kicked tonight. They pick the Monster PCO. So later on, we will have them in the main event. To make sure that they don't cause any trouble in the meantime, Scott shows the Honor No More faction to their private locker room, which is just a supply closet, but at least he can keep them from causing any trouble for the rest of the evening. We move on to Caleb and Madison backstage. They're totally bummed. I guess Tennille got stopped at the border again. She can't get back into the country. So we're not getting that Knockouts tag title match. But Caleb is filling in, and the match is happening. And Madison says, look, it's not a tag title match. Obviously, you're not a knockout. These are for the knockout tag titles. This is now turning into just a scouting opportunity. Your only job tonight is not to screw up. Well, as you can imagine, Caleb screwed up. He went to powerbomb Cassie Lee. She escaped by flipping down his back and into the Raw roll-up for the 1-2-3. And the inspiration beat the influence. But more importantly, that takes us to last week's tally of Raw roll-ups. There were only 2. We're off to a slow start for the year. But in the overall standings, there is a decisive frontrunner, and it may not be who you thought of.
Wow, even if you combine Raw and SmackDown, they're still up by 2.
And it's crazy, right? That's going to be probably my favorite part of the show going forward for the rest of the year because it just makes me giggle every time we talk about it. All right, we had another backstage segment where Ace Austin and Madman Fulton approached Jake Something and Mike Bailey after they had just gotten a beat down from the Bullet Club. Jake tells Bailey to stay away from Ace. The man can't be trusted. He tried to bang Eddie Edwards' wife, all kinds of stuff. He's just not a good dude. Ace is totally offended by this, as you could imagine one would be. And Bailey says, you know what? If you want to make it up to us, join us. The 4 of us, let's get together. Someone's got to face the Bullet Club. You help us out. We'll get this done. Ace tries to make every excuse in the world. Yeah, I would, but I'm a little busy next week, blah, blah, blah. Besides, we'd have to go to management and get this okayed. Maybe we shouldn't do this right now. Well, Gail Kim is new in Impact Management. She just happens to be walking past. She loves the idea of this 4-on-4, so book it. So let's make our pick. We've got Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, Jake Something, and Speedball Mike Bailey versus the Gorillas of Destiny, Jay White and Chris Bay, the Bullet Club contingent here in Impact Wrestling, an 8-man tag action. Who do you got in this one, John?
I don't know. Considering this is like Bullet Club's a faction, and this is a 4-on-4. I got to go with the faction on this one. I feel like the Bullet Club is kind of bulletproof as far as booking in America is concerned. If you're beating them, they're beating you twice. So I think they're going to win this one.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Somewhere down the line, if they've got to take an L, they'll put it on Bay. But Jay White's back. The Gorillas of Destiny are making their debut here. I think they got to take this one. I'm with you on this. All right, moving along here. The Good Brothers are already looking down the line, and they see the Bullet Club coming for them. They've already been told as much tonight. So they approach their good buddies, their working relationship with Violent by Design, and say, help us out here. We're going to need some help. We need you guys to join us. Eric Young really doesn't want any part of it until Gallows explains to him, you don't understand. What we need to fight these guys off is a lethal injection of violence. Well, that's all it takes to make Eric Young rethink his stance. It looks like going forward, we're going to see some kind of combination. We'll probably get another 4-on-4 match with the Good Brothers and Violent by Design going against the Bullet Club. But no date yet for that one. Next, we had the State of the Knockouts division addressed by Mickie James. Deanna wanted no part of it. She left pretty early on. Chelsea was there to pump up Mickie and tell her how wonderful she is. Tasha Steelz was at ringside holding that big X from Ultimate X that's given her a title shot somewhere down the line. Her and Savannah kind of get in Chelsea and Mickey's face. Fisticuffs start. Once again, no date yet, but you can kind of see at least this 2-on-2 coming somewhere down the line before Mickie James and Tasha go at it 1-on-1 for the Knockouts title. Moving along, we had a backstage segment with Jordynne Grace speaking to Gia Miller. She accepts the previous week's challenge from Matt Cardona, who said that, he basically created the digital media division. He should get a shot at that title. And we got to pick this one because it's booked. We're getting a championship match this Thursday night. Your digital media champion, Jordynne Grace versus Matt Cardona. Who you got?
I mean, if you're going to be realistic, you gotta have Cardona winning this one. Like, how does Jordynne Grace beat a big, muscular, 230-pound, yoked up man? Like, I don't care how good she is. Yeah, I gotta go with Cardona on this one. Maybe even with some help from his wife, though.
Yeah. No, I got to totally agree with you here. I mean, you got. Cardona just fought for your world championship. You can't have him, next taking a shot at I want to say a made-up championship, but a brand new championship that didn't exist and have a history. He just went from world title to brand new title, and he's going to lose that one. Unfortunately, I don't see it going Jordynne Grace's way. I think we get a new champion here. I have to agree with you, sir. This led us to our next backstage interview with Mean Gia Miller. She was getting chewed out by Steve Mack, who basically ran her off because he scared the hell out of her because she dared to mention how he lost to Jonathan Gresham. And he says it's BS. That was under pure rules. That stuff doesn't count, blah, blah, blah. Gresham happens to be within earshot, comes by and says, that's fine. You want a regular wrestling match? You're not getting a shot at my title, but I'll give you a standard rules match. So we've got that one booked for this week. Jonathan Gresham versus Steve Macklin. No title on the line, but no pure stipulations, just your standard wrestling match. What you got in this one?
I'm sorry, what were the two names again?
That's Jonathan Gresham, the Ring of Honor World Champion. Jordynne Grace's husband, and Steve Macklin, Deanna's boyfriend.
Oh, okay, yes. That's tough because Macklin hasn't been beaten in one-on-one competition, I'm pretty sure, or not been pinned or submitted.
Correct.
Maybe he's lost by DQ or whatever, but Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Gresham because he's the champ coming in. Like you can't have your champion look weak, in the Ring of Honor's, from their point of view, even though they're not really much of a company anymore.
Yeah. This one is really tough because it's not under the pure rules where you definitely wouldn't expect Gresham to lose. And there is this thing where Gresham has multiple times set himself aside from the guys that they're calling Honor No More and saying,
Right.
I'm not like those guys. I really fight with honor. They don't, blah, blah, blah. I can almost see one of them interfering in this match and costing Gresham since it's not for his title. So just for giggles, no points are on the line here. I'm going to go with Macklin. It's not pure rules. It's not for the title. I guess Gresham can afford to lose, especially if he loses dirty.
Yeah, true.
All right, moving along here, we had W. Morrissey, who apparently decided that it was in his best interest to warm up for his match against Moose coming down the line for the world title by fighting 2 guys from the Learning Tree and 6 random ham and eggers from Florida in an 8-on-1 handicap match where he would dominate physically the entire time. And ended here by my notes say he power bombed some dude onto Zicky Dice and covered both of them for the win.
See, this is the way, like when they introduce a big man and have him squash people like they did with Ryback and a bunch of other people, like Omos, whatever. This is what they should do, like 1-on-8, 1-on-10.
Yeah.
Like 1 versus the entire lot. Like anybody that wants to come out, and then just squash them all. Because it doesn't impress me that you beat 2 jobbers when you're 7 feet tall.
Exactly.
Make it 8. Yeah.
Make it so ridiculous that we have to take notice.
Exactly.
So afterwards, Brian Myers would get in Morrissey's face, but this was more of a distraction to allow Moose to come out and deliver, jump Morrissey from behind, deliver the lights out spear. Their match is coming down the line. We'll see about that. Next, we had a backstage segment with Raj Singh. He's kind of a little bit bummed. His buddy, oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. Rohit. His buddy Rohit is gone. The other guy, Shira, he's injured, so he's kind of all by himself, but he's at least excited that their buddy Bhupinder Singh, or at least that's what he used to go by. Apparently now he's going by Bhupinder Gujar, is coming to join him. Well, John Schuyler's within earshot, and he interrupts and says, what are you talking about these guys for? I'm the guy who beat Matt Cardona in my first ever match. You should be talking more about me. Raj says, I'll tell you what, Bhupinder's coming next week. Why don't you face Bhupinder in his first night in the company? Well, we got to pick this one because it's booked. Bhupinder Gujar and John Schuyler. Please let me hear your in-depth analysis of this one.
That's such a marketable name, Bhupinder Gujar. Well, man, imagine that on a T-shirt.
Gujar 316, baby.
I'm gonna go with Schuyler because I hope this is all just like some sort of gimmick, and we don't ever have to say the name Bhupinder ever again on this podcast.
I like the way you think. I guess I'm going to have to agree with you because of that very reason.
Bhupinder. It might also be the best name ever. So
it's definitely on the short list. All right, I didn't warn you that I was gonna go to you for this one, but I'm gonna need a little help with this next match. I think you're gonna be able to handle it. We had Jonah beating Johnny Swinger, and I just want you to help me out with what do you think the finishing move in this one was?
Tsunami!
Indeed, 76 seconds is all it took for Jonah to get the 1-2-3 on the Swingman. I'm not sure if this has any relevance to something coming down the line, but twice during this very short match, or during the match and then once afterwards, we got a shot of Dan Lambert in the crowd. Really was no talk about it. He didn't get anywhere near a mic. I don't know if this is going to have anything to do with anything going down the line, but it's worth mentioning that this is where his face showed up during this broadcast.
I'm not a big Jonah guy, but if he's got Dan Lambert on his side, I will pay attention.
Absolutely, yeah. Because Jonah, obviously, he can handle things in the ring. I mean, I always will think back to that great match he had with Gargano right before leaving. He can handle things in the ring, but not so much on the mic. Now you put him with Dan Lambert, now you got something. So this will take us to our main event of the evening between the Monster PCO and Chris Sabin. John, break this one down for us, if you would, please.
Well, I had no idea who PCO was for a little while, and I figured out that that's Jean-Pierre Lafitte, a.k.a. a bunch of different names, part of the Quebecers, from before the Attitude Era. And when I look at him, I just see like an old Ludwig Borga now. But I can still go. And I guess, when I say still, I think he's better than he was when he was in the WWF in the mid 90s, because
absolutely
I haven't seen him since. And this guy, he senton off the top rope onto the ring apron, just a monstrous style without being like a huge person. I dig the way he really wrestled this match, and Sabin obviously can go, and Sabin took a beating for most of the match. About halfway through, all his buddies, Rhino, Eddie Edwards, Rich Swann, Josh Alexander, they all got kicked out by the ref, I guess, because they got involved a little too much. But the Honor No More was allowed to still stay out there.
Right.
So, of course, they play a part in the end of the match where Sabin starts beating them up because they're trying to distract him, and then eventually he gets Bubba bombed by PCO for the 1, 2, 3, and then gets ganged up on right after the fact. And then Eddie's whole crew comes back out to make the save, and they end up, on top when the credits roll.
Absolutely, and we got a big. It seemed like it would be 8 men because that's how many men there were there. But clearly, there's somebody else coming for the Honor No More faction, because from what I understand, it's a 10-man tag that's booked for No Surrender. We'll see what the big reveal is. We've got one more match to pick. It really had it didn't come out of anything that happened here, other than the fact that it involves Vincent, the dude who looks like Rob Zombie from the Ring of Honor contingent. He will be facing Josh Alexander this week.
Oh, definitely give me Alexander on this one, especially since Honor No More won this week. The other side has to take that back next week.
Yeah, I completely agree. Josh is at some point in time after he's done with this gang warfare, he's got to make his way back around to Moose in the world title. So I don't think you hang a loss on him here. All right, moving on from Impact, we have last week's SmackDown, where absolutely nothing that happened had anything to do with anything but the Royal Rumble. And as far as this coming week's SmackDown, the only thing we really know so far comes out of Raw. So let's move right on to Raw, where I'm sorry.
Oh no, I didn't say anything. I was just making noises. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying. Forgive me if I don't let you get a word in edgewise sometimes. So I'm trying to be a little more careful so I don't do all the damn talking. So the show started off with Pierce in the ring, and he announced that Lashley will be defending his newly won WWE title inside Elimination Chamber. Lashley and MVP came out. Clearly, they're not happy with those rules. And Lashley went on about how he was better than Brock Lesnar in NCAA wrestling, professional wrestling, even in mixed martial arts. Brock's not going to stand for that because he happened to be in the building. He comes out and he's dressed to fight. He tells Bobby he never would have won had it not been for Roman's interference, but that's okay. I'm not mad at you, Bobby. In fact, I'm not even coming for you at Mania. Brock has pretty much already announced he's coming for Roman. There's just one thing. That title match at Mania, it will still be title for title, according to Brock, because Brock wants his rematch with Bobby, and he wants it tonight. Well, Lashley wanted no part of that. and him and MVP got out of the ring, headed back up the aisle, and Brock was left there with Pierce. Pierce knows what happens when there's an angry Brock, so he appeased the Beast, at least for the time being, by telling him he's moved Brock directly into the Elimination Chamber. So far, we've got 2 of the 6 people in that match. The bigger question that I pose to you, sir, I feel like they needed to get the belt off of Brock. That's why we had what happened at Royal Rumble. A, why in the hell would they be running it back in a way that makes you think Brock's going to take it back? And B, do you think there's a chance Brock maybe snaps, loses his mind, beats a bunch of people up, and gets suspended again and gets pulled out of the Elimination Chamber? Or do you think he's staying in it and it's essentially his to lose?
Well, when you bring that point up, I mean, that's certainly possible with him, getting out of the match somehow. Them putting him in the match, at least it's inside of a cage, inside of a structure where like he could plausibly get like ganged up on and beaten down against a bunch of metal, and you can have him get pinned without hurting him. And the Usos or Roman Reigns could come out. One that could happen too, and they can threaten the referee with the key, like, give me the keys. Then they open the door, and then they go in there and they beat the crap out of Brock that way. While he's locked in his pod, they break into his pod and just start beating him up or something. That'd be fun. Drag him out back, and then he doesn't even enter the match or something.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that they're putting that belt back on him, because they obviously took it off of him real quickly for a reason, because it was never supposed to be on him in the first place.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I started to think that I was insane for thinking that this is the dumbest thing they could do, is to put the belt back on it. All right.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to do that. I think we got Bobby versus Big E. Oh no, we're not going to get Bobby versus Big E, because they moved Big E back to SmackDown last week.
Yeah.
No, and then I should have changed my picks, by the way, because I had Big E winning and challenging the Raw winner, the Raw champion, and then that all got blown up. But I stuck with my picks, and I went 2 and 4.
Okay, well, moving on from that opening segment, we had Rhea Ripley defeating Nikki ASH. She hits the Riptide. The match goes about 8 minutes, but these 2 former partners, maybe that's the end of it, maybe not. I'm not sure. I think we're all done really caring about it, though. We had Alexa getting a therapy section where the doctor presented her with a Lily doll. And the doctor even went out of his way to explain that I bought this on WWE Shop. This is not the real Lily. Alexa didn't seem to care. There were tears. You could see she was welling up. There were tears in her eyes when she got to hold Lily again. I thought that these sessions were going to be to break her of this character, and eventually she'd be coming back as the goddess or some version of just Alexa Bliss. It's starting to look like that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, I'm happy about that, though, because I think she's doing a great job with this gimmick, and it doesn't need to go away yet. And we can always get the old Alexa back, for the rest of her freaking career. Like, why do we need her back now? This isn't going to be her for the rest of her life. She's going to eventually go back to it. So let's see what more we can do with this. Try to salvage this gimmick.
True, and anything she does is entertaining anyway. So why not, right?
Yeah, she's a natural with that gimmick. She plays like the cheery psycho very well.
Absolutely. So we have, moving along, we have part 2 of the Academic Challenge, which somehow is a scooter race between Riddle and Chad Gable. They say they got to do 50 laps around the building, so it starts early on in the show. We check in with them again in the middle of the show. They're hydrating backstage. The Street Profits hook Riddle up with a nice drink for him to rehydrate. Otis is there for his man Gable and apparently gives him a cup of steak sauce to replenish his electrolytes.
So salty.
Moving along to the end of the scooter race, at least, we get the two of them coming down the ramp, almost neck and neck. Gable's even got a little bit of a lead, but he takes a tumble right at the time where he's about to turn and go around the ring. So it looks like Riddle's got it. It's easy street for him. All he's got to do is make it around two sides to the other side and finish up right in front of the announce table. He gets around one side. He gets, maybe 3 feet from the finish line. Otis appears out of nowhere, body blocks him off the scooter, just completely blows him up. He bounces him off the ring steps, which allows Gable enough time to recover from his little mishap, make it around. He wins. And that leads to them backstage where, this one ends in the ring. Blah, 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 blah. Riddle accuses Gable of cheating. Gable's not very happy. How dare you? This is going to get him a match with Otis. Just before this match starts, however, Pierce lets us know that the winner of this match is going into the Elimination Chamber. So would you please break down for us, if you would, our first Elimination Chamber qualifier of the evening?
Yeah, so we got Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory to start off our qualifiers. I love this matchup. It's heel on heel action, which is right up my alley, of course. We got this brand new, fresh from NXT guy with like an old NXT guy who's made it on the main roster, and they went at it pretty well. Kevin Owens, had the upper hand for most of the match, as he should, because he's the veteran and he's the bigger guy. But Theory got all his moves off. He got his flat-footed blockbuster where he doesn't need the ropes to get you with it. He did this weird fisherman-like suplex type thing that I can't even describe, where he kind of like crossed Kevin Owens' legs in front of himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird, but it was cool. They end up on the outside. Kevin Owens is about to do not the pop-up, just a regular powerbomb onto the ring apron, which he's so famous for.
Yep.
And Austin Theory holds on to the top rope, gets back in the ring, and as Kevin Owens is chasing him back into the ring, Theory kicks the middle rope into the groin of Kevin Owens, hits his finisher, I forget what it's called, something Theory.
ATL.
Oh, ATL. It's not Theory something. Cool. This shows how much I know. Good prep work, John. Yeah. So we get the ATL and the 1, 2, 3, and then he takes some selfies over his head at the ring while Kevin Owens is still laying there as he's on the ramp.
So that gives us now 3 men in the Elimination Chamber. Moving along, we had a completely throwaway match between Miz and Dom Mysterio, where Miz did pull an Eddie Guerrero of sorts, where he pretended to be tripped by Ray on the outside to get Ray tossed out. And while Dom was, apoplectic that there goes dear old dad, Miz hits the skull-crushing finale for the 1, 2, 3. We also had a match between Dawkins of the Street Profits and Dolph Ziggler. I think this one was just to give Dawkins a match in his hometown, because apparently he's from Cincinnati, where this took place. He would icky shuffle his way to the ring, and he'd hit that twisting butterfly suplex thing that he did to beat Ziggler in 4.5 minutes and get a nice pop from the hometown crowd. John, if you would, our second Elimination Chamber qualifier, Riddle and Big Man Otis.
Yeah, I realized that's the match you threw to me before, but when you said the first of our qualifying matches, I went with the first one. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's quite all right. I realized in my own notes that wasn't the first one. You just misspoke. But
before we go with this, how is it that lap 50 ended at the ring in front of the announce table, but none of the other 49 laps were they ever rolling past us during the other matches? I don't understand how is that laps? Wouldn't you?
Don't let common sense throw you off from a wrestling storyline. You're thinking too much, my man.
Yeah, I mean, this is professional wrestling. This is true. All right, so we don't get nearly as long of a match as we did in the first qualifier between Riddle and excuse me, Otis. He ends up with what did he do? The floating bro off the top rope, and hooks the legs. Does this count as a roll up? I don't think so, because he hooked the legs off of the floating bro. He hooked both legs while he had his back on him. 1, 2, 3. Otis gets upset. He's very upset about being upset.
Yeah, that was. I watched that pinning combination. I said, like, "Ooh, do we get to squeak this into the roll?" No, I guess we can't call that. He actually hit a finishing maneuver on him. Bianca Belair would defeat Carmella with the KOD in 5.5 minutes, and once again, no one much cares other than Carmella took time out to put on her hideous face mask. And we have one last qualifier for the evening. This was your main event: AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio. John, break it down for us.
Well, I mean, AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio. What can you really say that hasn't been said about these guys? This is just like a clinic. You could literally wake them up in the middle of the ring, and they could just go at it and have a 5-star hell of a match. And that's pretty much what they did, especially for it wasn't a 5-star match because they weren't a lot at the time. But I mean, the two of them, pulling off what they can do. I mean, AJ Styles gets the clean win off of, I believe, the what the hell does he call it?
Styles Clash.
Styles Clash. How did I forget that? He's never changed the name. Styles Clash for the victory. I mean, it was a nice face-on-face match. We got a good heel-on-heel earlier in the show, and for face-on-face, it was actually very entertaining because you have two of the best wrestlers in the world in there.
Yeah, these two could just. I'm not sure they could have a bad match if they tried. Exactly. All right, so that was your main event in terms of wrestling. We did have one more segment, of course, where Ronda Rousey would come to the ring. She's still debating which title she intends to take at Mania. Well, this doesn't sit well with Becky, who reminds her she's still the only one to have beaten her so far. And Ronda doesn't really care. She gives Becky a nice judo hip toss and then leans over her to let her know that she hasn't made her decision yet, but she will let the rest of us know this Friday when apparently she intends to show up, pardon me, on SmackDown. So Ronda leaves. Becky's all alone in the ring with her Raw Women's Championship. Lita makes her way out to the ring. Lita, who we thought was probably going to face Charlotte somewhere down the line because they've already gotten in each other's faces. Lita challenges Becky to a match at the Elimination Chamber. At first, Becky declines. Then Lita kind of shames her into it by saying, "Oh, what are you, scared?" So this match is going to happen. It's going to be for the title. I don't imagine Lita will win it, but doesn't this kind of muck things up in the way you thought the WrestleMania women's title matches were going to go?
Yeah, it's quite the curveball. We were under the impression it was Charlotte, Lita, Becky, and Ronda, and it was all but confirmed when Ronda showed up last night.
Yep.
But then, from what you read between that and then, the whole Lita challenge and Becky thing, maybe they're throwing us a curveball, but then they're going to bring it right back to where we thought it was going to be. And that's why she challenged her at the Elimination Chamber and not at WrestleMania.
It could be. Good point. All right, well, that's it for Raw. I guess we'll get our answers to that as we move along. Best not to spend too much time on that because the more brain power you spend thinking about what WWE is doing, you're spending more brain power than they
are. Especially when it comes to the women's division.
That's damn sure. All right, our last program that we got to run through is NXT 2.0 from last week. Kicks off with a Dusty Cup match. John, break this one down for us between MSK and Jacket Time.
MSK and Jacket Time. I mean, what more can I say? You got MSK, last year's winners. Jacket Time is a new tag team, but between Kushida and I gotta admit, I forget the other guy's name, the one in the jacket.
Ike Manjiro.
Yeah, I mean that. We all know what Kushida's capable of, and then they showed us in this match, MSK ends up with the victory because they're MSK and they don't lose very often. I think they might even only have one loss under their belts, and it's to Imperium, right?
I think you might be right.
Yeah, so it looks like MSK is on track to get to the finals for the second straight year.
All right. Moving along, we had some segments throughout the show with Legado and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker has some problems with Santos, but Santos is going to send Wilder Mendoza after him and tells him he's probably going to have to face a 2-on-1 as the champion. Braun Breaker has no friends, so there's no way he's going to find a tag team partner. Fast forward to the last segment where we revisit this for the third time in the night. They pull up in their SUV, that being Legado. Looks like they're going to try and jump Braun Breaker on his way to the car. And all of a sudden, standing next to Breaker out of nowhere is Tommaso Ciampa. Legado rethink their idea and pull away. So it looks like Breaker has a partner for this week. Breaker and Ciampa versus Wilder Mendoza. Who you got in this one?
It's going to be Breaker and Ciampa. I don't like that they did this, though. It's like you're making Ciampa look a little weak now by having him just be like, yeah, I got your back, kid that just beat me for my title. It's like, what did Timothy Thatcher have to do to get that kind of respect from Ciampa? He had to have like a war with him many times, and then they ended up on the same page. This is just like, I feel like this is weak writing by WWE by having just Ciampa. Hey, I got your back, young stallion. I mean, they're gonna win. Hopefully this leads to like evil Ciampa coming back. The Ciampa that wanted to like literally murder Johnny Gargano right after the DIY days.
Yeah.
If it's that, then kudos. I go for it. But if not, then I don't like what they're doing with this.
Yeah, I get the feeling this is not the kind of thing that would have happened if Triple H was still in charge.
Yeah.
All right, we're running short on time because I babble entirely too much, so I'm going to fast forward through a little bit of this. Solo Sikoa beat Boa in his no DQ false count anywhere match when he hit the Baby Uso splash through a table to the floor.
Hell of a match.
It's a shame, and we really should give that match a little bit more time. But that was
the people should give it some time and go back and watch it. It's an awesome match. Go watch it.
Absolutely. Let's see. We also had Duke Hudson beating Guru Raj with a razor's edge. Afterwards, Dante Chen, who was jumped by Duke Hudson last week, came out and let Hudson know he was coming, paid him the respect that Hudson did not pay him. Hudson would eventually get the better of him by chop blocking Chen's knee that he just recovered from. We've got Kaylee Ray, Indie Wrestling, and Persia Parada beating Toxic Attraction when Persia hit that sit-out TKO on Gigi after KLR had run Mandy backstage chasing her with a baseball bat. Cora Jade still wants to be best friends with Raquel and partners in the Ladies Dusty Cup. Raquel is not only still not interested, she is losing her patience because Cora interrupted her workout. So the two of them are going to get it on this week to see if Cora, I guess, can prove her worthiness to her. So they're going to face each other, Cora Jade and Raquel. Who you got in this one tonight?
I think this is the perfect spot for the Raw roll-up this week. I think that's where NXT's Raw roll-up is happening. You got Cora Jade with the maybe even a cheating Raw roll-up, maybe some tights with it. Just be like, yeah, see what I'm willing to do,
There you go. I could see that absolutely happening. I think I'm with you on that one. I think you figure these two are going to team, therefore Cora's got to win to get her respect. And maybe she gets her respect by winning dirty. Like, hey, I didn't think you had that in you. Moving along, we have our second Dusty Cup match of the night between GYV and Chase U. John, break this one down for us, if you please.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick for you. GYV's been in the finals of the tournament the past 2 years, so it looks like they're well on their way to their third one. But a couple highlights along the way. Well, they won the match, but Chase U, they're very entertaining. We got some up downs by the valedictorian of Chase U, where he was doing he did 3 up downs with splashes. That was pretty fun. And when Andre Chase did the give me a C, give me an H, and did the whole Chase U. What's that spell? Chase U. It's this stuff is gold. They don't need to win a thing, and they can stay as long as they want.
Yeah, Vince is looking for characters. This is what he's looking for.
Absolutely.
Okay, so GYV is moving on in this one, and just for a point of reference to see how it plays out down the line, Von Wagner attacks the guys from Chase U afterwards, and Robert Stone apparently is along with him as he was carrying Wagner's suit jacket. Then in our main event, we have Cameron Grimes defeating Tony D'Angelo. When D'Angelo rolls out for a breather at ringside, he gets surprised by Pete Dunne, who cracks his hand with a cricket bat. D'Angelo rolls back in, clearly in pain, right into a cave-in. Grimes gets the 1, 2, 3 in 11 minutes and 41 seconds. Let's see. And the last match that we have to pick came out of a segment backstage where Malcolm Bivens said that Gunther is a stupid name and challenged Imperium to a 6-man tag action. Diamond Mine versus Imperium. It's happening tonight. Who you got in this one?
Oh, you call Gunther a stupid name, you get put through the floor, or you get his hand put through your chest.
Yes.
Give me Imperium all day.
Yeah, I got to think you are correct here. I think perhaps maybe even Roddy takes the pin here, and that leads to, like at some point I get the feeling Roddy's going to get kicked out of the Diamond Mine. I don't know who they're going to replace him with, but I got a feeling they're going to turn on him, and this could be the start of it. All right, I think that gets us done. Now let's pay some bills. Let me find... Here we go. The Prime Time Rundown, powered by StreamYard with Joey Jerzenka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca, now airing 7 p.m. on Friday nights as they take you through the world of sports right here on all the Eastern Observer platforms. For more information, please go to easternobserver.com. They've dropped the word "the." Another show on this platform, a new show, fairly new, The Sunday Sauce. Our old pal Tyler Adele, and his partner Andrew Mukaria, they bring you everything about the world of the NHL and all the league's happenings. Get saucy this Sunday afternoon with The Sunday Sauce right here on the Eastern Observer platforms. The Body Slam Brigade newsletter. Over 5,000 people are subscribing and getting this weekly column from minutestobelltime.com and our good buddy Ryan Joy. The Body Slam Brigade by Ryan for you for free. And while we're talking about Ryan Joy, let's go to... that roundtable discussion coming up this week should be a lot of fun. All right, check out the Black Cats NYC. Their album Free Cake is available now wherever you consume music. Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, etc., etc. And as always, the EWP is sponsored by Pro Wrestling Pick'em, the internet leader in sports entertainment pick'em pools. Join us in the EWP public pool. See how you do against the hosts here on the show. or create your own private pool with you and your friends. PWP, play against your friends, play against the universe.
And guys, she'll like it too.
Oh, yeah. Join us back here next week for episode 92 of the Essential Wrestling Podcast, 5 p.m. on all our normal viewing platforms. And I believe that's it. John Smith, any final words for the folks out there?
No, we cut it pretty close today on timing. I thought that we were going to have a short show, and we ended up with a nice one. So sorry you had to speak so much, though. I'm not as well versed with all the impact and whatnot as you are.
It's quite all right. I'm sorry for the people who had to listen to me talk that much, but thank you for helping me get through this, as I have no idea what I'm doing on this end, and we're just making our way through. All right, ladies and gents. Alexa Bliss, we love you. Larry Steve, always in our hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thank you for allowing me to muck my way through this. And as always, we wish you the best in all your future endeavors.